We've been ripping south through the Sea of Cortez towards La Paz, preparing to cross the Pacific Ocean. Right now, we find ourselves in Isla Espiritu Santo, soaking in our last taste of this desert paradise. One Life has called Mexico home for almost an entire year, but as beautiful as this place is, it is time for us to sail on. As we watch the sun sink down below the horizon, the sky became the most vibrant colors of pink and gold. It felt like the sky was alive, almost as if it was bidding us farewell. The next day, we would wake up and set sail to La Paz, where we would spend the next week making our final preparations to tackle one of the most challenging undertakings of our lives, crossing the world's largest ocean. We pulled anchor from our last stop in the Sea of Cortez to make our way to the city of La Paz. It was just a day's sail away, so we hoisted our main, rolled out our headsail, and enjoyed the fantastic conditions for sailing.
So we were sailing along on our way to La Paz, and it was nice and easy, like nice wind on the beam. But then the wind started to get lighter and shifted right behind us. We've got the whisker pole out to port, and we've got the mainsail out to starboard, and we're sailing wing on wing.
As we approached the entrance to La Paz, it was time to drop our sails, clean up the lines in the cockpit, and motor through the channel into the anchorage. We are pulling into our last port before we set off across the Pacific. We're just entering La Paz now, and it's crazy to think about the journey we've been on for the past 4 months to get the boat ready. But we're so close, and I'm not really sure how I'm feeling about it. I'm nervous, and I'm excited, and a bit terrified, all in one. But we're gonna get anchored today and go have some tacos and a margarita and relax the rest of the night, because the next few days are gonna be a whirlwind until we leave. For our first days, we anchored outside La Paz Marina, where we could use their dinghy dock to get to the city center. This morning, we ran over to the water maker store to get some spare parts for our water maker. This is just one of our many stops while we're here. Our next stop is to get a new starting battery. We went back to One Life to grab the old starter battery for the core replacement and also our scuba BCDs. We had an unsuccessful trial dive the previous week, so we took our BCDs to the local dive shop for the inflators to be serviced. The battery shop had exactly what we needed, so it was a quick purchase and exchange, and we headed back to One Life to install it. Shit. But, as always, boat projects tend to multiply, and we discovered a leaking sea strainer next to the starting battery. Gary removed it so that it could be rebuilt with new seals and then reinstalled. Fortunately, our boat work was completed in time to go grab some tacos and ice cream. Land life. Soaking it in while we can. Great. Laundry day and round one of restocking the boat with food. This would be our last opportunity to avoid bucket laundry, so we took advantage of the marina's full-service laundromat before heading to the supermarket.
So today is provisioning day. We're here at the Hyper Soriana, which is an enormous supermarket, and she's the one running the show today. I pretty much just follow behind and look at all the beers and look at all the snacks and the baked goods, and occasionally I go grab something that she's having trouble finding. But Brooke pretty much is a provisioning wizard and knocks this out of the park, so I don't have to worry about it. I know she's got it totally under control, and I'm just here to help out. That cart is filling up fast. It's almost time for me to go get cart number 2.
Food is super expensive in French Polynesia, so we're gonna stock up the boat as much as possible. We did a huge provisioning run before we left Penasco 3 weeks ago, but provisioning a sailboat for an ocean crossing is a pretty serious process because we need to be able to sustain ourselves for not only the duration of the sail, but for weeks to months afterward, as we are unsure of when or where we will be able to restock next. Buying groceries may seem like a pretty easy task, but I have spent countless hours meal planning, researching the best way to store certain foods, and organizing every square inch of the boat to make sure we are utilizing One Life storage space to its max capacity. Provisioning, round 2.
Day number 184 of trying to prepare to cross an ocean.
We've been trying to prepare for 3 years. We have been preparing for 3 years. Ready?
Ready.
I had one last shot to load up on as much meat, cheese, fresh veggies, beer, and wine that I thought I could fit on board, so I decided to go to Walmart. But there was one thing I was missing that Walmart didn't have much of: unrefrigerated vegetables. So I asked the taxi driver if he could stop by the local market before heading back to the boat. The storage of fresh fruits and veggies require the most time, as each one is disinfected, washed, and carefully stored. And when the veggie nets are complete, that's when we know that One Life's galley is ready to go. With One Life loaded with provisions, we had one more thing to fill up on: diesel. Before setting off across an ocean, we needed our 80-gallon fuel tank and additional 4 jerry cans full. So we headed over to the fuel dock at Costa Baja Marina, just a few miles outside the city center of La Paz. The fuel dock attendants deployed an oil spill preventing boom because the conditions at the dock were less than ideal. Once fueled up, we headed into the marina to take a slip for a couple nights. This would give us a chance to get some good rest and make our final preparations. To ensure our towed dinghy didn't get in the way while docking, I hopped off and tied it up at the end dock before heading into our slip. And just like that, One Life was secured in place.
What day is it?
It's run around La Paz to check out of Mexico Day. We just got here into our slip at Costa Baja. We fueled up this morning, and we're gonna do the immigration customs port captain dance.
So we're here at the port captain's office filling out all the paperwork, making sure everything's in order. we're too stubborn to hire an agent to do this. So when we asked the marina where immigration is, so we could figure out where the immigration office is to go to, they just told us, we recommend you hire an agent. We said no, and we set off to the port captain's office to figure it out on our own, as usual. But so far, it's not been too bad. They're helping us out and giving us all the forms we need. And we're having to translate a lot of the stuff on the form to figure out how to fill it out. But hopefully this process only takes about a half a day, because that's all we have. Okay, step one is done. We have forms that we need to bring to immigration for them to sign off on and stamp our passports. And we also need to go to the harbor controller office and get a receipt saying that we're all paid up on our harbor fees. So we're gonna walk there and see if we can find that. It's about a mile away.
So leaving tomorrow?
Okay, we just finished up the API, paid our harbor fee, got our piece of paper. Now we're in another cab to the immigration office, and then we have to go back to the port captain's office. This is cab ride number 2, 3, I don't know, I'm already lost. Okay, we just left the immigration office. It was a little chaotic in there. There was a lot of people in there, and we had to wait for maybe 30 minutes for them to process the paperwork. Now we need to head back to the port captain's office, but our problem is we don't have cell phones that work anywhere. So we've been using an Uber-like service here, but we can only do that from a place that has Wi-Fi. And we were lucky the last office we were at had Wi-Fi. But now we're gonna walk until we find a cafe or restaurant or something with Wi-Fi so we can get another ride.
Gracias.
All right, we went to a little cafe, got some frappes, and then we hopped in another InDriver, which is the app here like Uber, and we are back at the port captain's office for hopefully the last stop of the checkout charades. So in typical fashion, they threw us a curveball. They said we have to go to a bank and make some payment of around $20, and we're not really sure what it's for. And it wasn't on any of the list or anything that we were told ahead of time for what to do for this. But apparently we have to go make this payment at a bank before we can get the Zarpe.
And they kept our passports.
So our passports and documents are still at the port captain, who promised us that she would stay there while we go to the bank and make a payment. But we kind of suspect when we show back up at the port captain's office, there might not be anyone there. Okay, we just walked for about 20 minutes, found the bank that we found on Google Maps. That bank was not even a bank yet, it was still being built, but we found a different bank right next door. We paid our thing, got a little receipt. I don't know how that works or why that works, but we bring this receipt back to the port captain's office. They see that we've paid it, allegedly, and then they give us our Zarpe.
Do you think they give us our Zarpe?
I don't know how any of this works. I think Mexico's competing with Costa Rica. We're sweating. Brooke's ready for a margarita or she's gonna lose it, I think. Do you hear that laugh? That's a crazy laugh. Come on. Ricky, come on. Let's go. French Polynesia. Come on. We're walking faster than we're gonna sail there actually right now.
Well, we just got back.
We came back to the port captain's office and look. Yeah, the lights are off in there. But she saw us come up. She was waiting for us and she came around to this little gate here. So she took our payment receipt and we're almost done, we think.
Hopefully.
We're probably not almost done.
Can taste that margarita.
You can taste the margarita.
It's
I
coming
think you
soon.
taste the sweat in your mouth.
After one last short wait, I was literally jumping for joy to be finished with that process. On our way back to the marina, and I just looked at the time. It's taken us 6 hours. We left the boat at 9:30 to start the checkout process, and it's 4:30 we're headed back. And believe it or not, we actually decided against margaritas. We really just want to get back to One Life and enjoy the marina for a bit and relax.
You mean work on the dinghy and change out the foot block?
Yeah, all of those things. We're not quite ready, but maybe we'll have a margarita later. Back at One Life, we decided to hoist our dinghy on deck so the next day we could give it a solid cleaning with the unlimited supply of dock water. Last minute preps.
Yeah, there's always something to fix. So we noticed a leak in our aft cabin coming through this turning block for our Genoa sheets, and we also noticed a little crack in the block itself. So we have a spare on board. So I'm going to go ahead and replace it today. It took about an hour to pull up the old one, and now I'm just going to seal this one and put the screws back in. But last minute fixes. Luckily this one's a minor one. I'm not too upset about it.
While we're here at the dock, I'm going to give everything one last scrub, a good rinse. And one of the things that we wanted to do when we were in the yard and never got a chance to was really get all the scum and stuff off our dinghy. So I'm going to do that now. After giving our dinghy a good scrub down, we hoisted it on the aft davits. Gary then cleaned up the deck area to make sure all our spare jerry jugs of fuel and water were secured tightly, and we gave One Life a quick bath. Since we weren't sure when we would be able to make contact with our friends and family, we spent the rest of the day inside the boat, lounging in the air conditioning, chatting over a couple Zoom calls. Good morning, it's time to go to the Marquesas! Right, Gary?
No, it's not. First, I think we need a working bilge pump, and our bilge pump decided to quit this morning, which is pretty good timing. But we have a spare, so I'm going to replace it here at the dock before we leave, and hopefully this is the last hiccup, the last minute hiccup, and there's no others.
Boats. They have a funny way of dictating your plans.
Okay, bilge pump is replaced. I'm not sure what was wrong with the old one. It was pumping, but once I connected to the hoses to try to pump it overboard, it kind of just stalled out. So I think the motor might have been bad inside of it.
So do we have another bilge pump, or is that our last spare?
We have another spare. It's a different type, so it's not as easy to swap out, but we do have another.
We have a spare.
We have another spare.
I'm just finishing packing up the rest of our ditch bag, handheld radio, passports, credit card, and our boat registration. And I'm also putting in our hard drives. We are almost ready to go. There's a little mini market here, and we're gonna go spend the rest of our pesos before we leave. Get some snacks. This is our last walk on land for a little while.
One last ice cream.
Guess we can put our sandals away. We won't be needing those for a while.
2,764 miles to go. Right now we're moving 0 knots. We haven't even left the dock yet.
We're just waiting on the guys to come help us with our lines. There's some rocks right up against us, and we don't back up very well, and there's not enough room for us to turn around, so we really need them to help walk us back out of this slip.
Well, we back up fine. The problem is we back up to port really well, and that would put us right into the rocks, so.
There they are.
We cannot back to starboard. So we made one attempt to leave already, and we did not make it. And I'll show you why. So we're in this slip, and there's a finger pier here, and then there are rocks here, and it gets pretty shallow over there. And our boat does not back to starboard. No matter how much you turn the helm to try to back to starboard, it doesn't, because the prop walk is just so severe. So as I put it in reverse, what happens is the stern just goes straight for the rocks, which just doesn't leave us enough room to back up and turn around to get out of here. So we tried, we backed up. I realized there was not gonna be enough room, and rather than try to force it and end up hitting the rocks, I just pulled straight back into the slip, and we're waiting for a dinghy to come give us a little push, and hopefully they can push our bow around once we back up and get us pointed down the fairway.
What do you think?
We're going back.
We're good?
Yeah, we're gonna go back.
Okay.
It's okay.
Perfecto, gracias. Okay.
Now that we're pointed and we got some speed, we'll be able to back.
Okay, Gary, are you good? I'm gonna do the lines. Take the lines off.
Yeah. Are you good?
Yeah, are you good?
Can't even leave the dock. How are we gonna get across an ocean? Can he follow us all the way to the Marquesas in case we need any more help? Does anyone know whose yacht this is? If you guessed Steve Jobs, well, the late Steve Jobs, it now belongs to his widow, you were right. That is Steve Jobs' 235-foot yacht, Venus. I think it costs like $200 million. We don't belong in the same marina as that yacht, so we're gonna go out on the open ocean for about a month.
Okay, so this is it. Just a couple thousand miles of ocean between us and our next destination. Every choice and decision made during the last few months has been solely to prepare us for this. It is hard to believe just a few weeks ago, we left the boatyard in Penasco, where we poured our hearts and souls into transforming one life into a trusty, seaworthy vessel. The journey to get to this point took us along the spectacular coast of the Americas, through the Panama Canal, across the Caribbean, and through the Bahamas. As we departed La Paz, we couldn't help but reflect on the uncertainty we were feeling. The same uncertainty we felt 3 years ago when we left Florida to chase a dream. We weren't sure if we were ready then, and we aren't sure we are ready now, but there is only one way to find out.